Not leadership material. That's what my boss said when the promotion list came out without my name. The conference room smelled like stale coffee and ambition. I could hear the team celebrating down the hall, toasting Sarah's new VP role. My mentor avoided eye contact. My colleagues looked away. I gripped the folder of quarterly reports I'd compiled alone, straightened my navy blazer, and chose silence. No argument, no tears. I stood up and walked out of that glass tower. 3 hours later, the celebration went quiet and a phone call changed everything. Here's what happened next. The Manhattan air was crisp that morning, the kind that smells like exhaust and opportunity. My company, Meridian Capital, had chosen the penthouse conference room for its commanding view, the kind of place where decisions got made just to prove they mattered. The marble table stretched under crystal chandeliers, surrounded by leather chairs that cost more than most people's cars. Every seat inside represented power. Mine apparently was never considered. I'd worked there for 4 years, climbing from analyst to senior manager, replaying my boss Marcus's last email in my head. Thanks for your dedication, Elena. We'll keep you in mind for future opportunities. That was all I ever was to him. A placeholder, a safety net. Don't make waves. Don't challenge process. Don't remind anyone there's another candidate. Growing up, I was the overachiever you see in family photos, the one with perfect grades and realistic dreams. Sarah had connections and charm. I had spreadsheets no one wanted to review. She'd pitch ideas and get promoted. I'd fix problems and get forgotten. Marcus said I was reliable. HR said I was thorough. Both meant the same thing. Invisible was useful. The last time I saw them all together was the holiday party 2 months ago. I remember the office smelling like catered appetizers and forced networking. Sarah was in Aspen with her husband's family, and for once, the pressure felt lighter. Marcus asked me to grab the client files from his locked drawer. Instead, I found his evaluation notes, edges worn from constant reference. I flipped through them, curious, until I realized every review followed the same pattern. Sarah's innovative thinking, Sarah's natural presence, Sarah's leadership potential. Not a single comment about my record-breaking numbers, not my client retention rate, not my name. When I asked why, Marcus smiled like it was obvious. You're more of a behind-the-scenes person, Elena. Sarah has that executive presence. That night, I learned there are 2 kinds of overlooked, being underestimated and being erased. I thought about those evaluation notes as I walked toward the conference room, heels clicking on polished floors. Through the glass walls, I saw them reviewing the announcement. Marcus in his tailored suit, the board straightening their ties, and Sarah glowing in success. She looked up, saw me, and waved the same way people wave at assistants they barely remember. The secretary intercepted me with her tablet. "You're Miss Rodriguez?" she asked. "Yes." Her professional smile dimmed when she checked the schedule. "You're not listed for this meeting." I laughed, waiting for her to correct herself. She didn't. Not listed. Not invited to the promotion announcement for the position I'd been promised. I could see the entire boardroom through the glass, every handshake, every congratulation. But there was a barrier between us, literal and professional. I set my folder on the reception desk, a thick compilation of strategies I'd developed over months, and stared through the partition. Inside, Sarah was accepting congratulations. Marcus adjusting her new nameplate. Outside, I stood in the hallway and told myself the same lie I'd believed for years. It's fine. You don't need recognition. But the truth was pressing against my chest, quiet and solid. Maybe I didn't need their approval. But that didn't mean they had the right to treat me like I was expendable. I tried to blend into the background like always, but the hallway wasn't empty. Junior staff passed by, whispering congratulations to each other, glancing at me with pity. Every time the conference room door opened, I caught flashes of champagne glasses clinking, suits leaning in for photos, Marcus's hand on Sarah's shoulder like a blessing of authority. Then the whispers shifted. I looked up and saw Sarah walking toward me, promotion letter in one hand, new business card in the other, like a trophy. She stopped just short of the doorway, her reflection doubled in the glass. Two versions of her, one celebrated inside, one condescending outside. "Well," she said, tilting her head. "Looks like they finally made the right choice." I blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" She smiled that practiced smile I'd seen in client meetings. The one she used before stealing credit. Not leadership material. Marcus was right about that. The words landed so casually I almost missed how calculated they were. Not leadership material. Like it was science. Like I was a failed experiment. For a second, I said nothing. My throat went tight, the kind of tightness that comes from swallowing too much injustice. Behind her, Marcus was calling out, "Sarah, we need you for the board photo." She didn't move. She wanted me to react, to argue, to beg, to prove her point. I didn't. I just looked at her long enough for her smile to waver. "You know," I said quietly, "there's always been room for both of us to succeed. You're the one who kept making it a competition." Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, please, Elena. Not everything's about you. This is business. You could at least pretend to be professional about it." I let out a small laugh, the kind that sounds like air escaping from pressure. "You made sure I couldn't even sit at the table. What exactly am I celebrating?" For a moment, the mask slipped. I saw a flicker of something, insecurity, maybe. Then she straightened, lifting her chin. "You always overthink things. Maybe Marcus was right. You make everything too complicated." Marcus. The name hit harder than I expected. I pictured those evaluation notes again, every page filled with Sarah's potential and none of mine. "I'm not complicated," I said. "You just never liked that I see the numbers behind the presentations." She rolled her eyes. "You sound just like accounting, bitter and small-minded. Face it, Elena. Nobody needs your approval here. Not now, not ever." She turned sharply, leaving a trail of expensive perfume and dismissal. I watched her go, her heels clicking confidence back to the celebration, and felt the familiar burn behind my eyes. But this time, it didn't hurt the same way. It burned cleaner. When the door closed behind her, I picked up my folder from the reception desk. The strategies I'd developed working nights and weekends, wrapped in quiet expertise. I traced the cover once, then slipped it into my bag. If they didn't want my ideas inside, fine. But I wasn't leaving empty-handed. Not this time. For a while, I just stood there, fingers pressed against the smooth leather of my portfolio, listening to the muffled sound of celebration leaking through the conference room doors. It was supposed to be Sarah's moment, a perfect corporate fairy tale. I imagined Marcus making speeches, the board clapping politely, Sarah basking in the applause, the same scene I'd watched my whole career from the sidelines. But sidelines have perspective. I stood up slowly. My reflection caught in the glass partition, still composed, maybe even determined if you looked closely. Inside the bag, my phone buzzed with a calendar reminder I'd almost forgotten. The Goldman Sachs meeting I'd scheduled 3 weeks ago, my own client pitch, separate from company business. I had been working on it quietly, building relationships Marcus never knew about. It wasn't rebellion, it was preparation. 3 months earlier, I'd connected with David Chen, a senior partner, at an industry conference. A casual conversation had turned into genuine interest in my market analysis approach. "You should present this to our investment committee," he'd said. "We're always looking for fresh perspectives." I hadn't planned to use that connection until today. Before leaving the office floor, I walked past the executive assistant's desk. She was distracted, organizing catering leftovers from the celebration. I left a resignation letter in her inbox, clean, professional, effective immediately. No explanation beyond pursuing new opportunities. Then I took the elevator down 47 floors, my heart steady, calm in a way that felt almost foreign. The Goldman Sachs building was only 6 blocks away. The meeting I'd scheduled was in 2 hours. Perfect timing. The New York afternoon hit me with a rush of possibility. The traffic hummed around me, a symphony I'd stopped hearing years ago. I could hear the faint echo of my heels on concrete, each step deliberate and sure. For the first time in my career, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel invisible. I reached the Goldman Sachs lobby, the marble gleaming under crystal fixtures. No dramatic goodbye, no burned bridges, just the quiet confidence of someone who knew their worth. As I signed in at security, I looked back once at the Meridian building towering in the distance, the glass reflecting afternoon sun, and whispered to myself, let talent find its way. Inside Meridian's conference room, laughter still floated above congratulations. A photographer captured group shots. Champagne bubbled in crystal flutes. The celebration pressed around Sarah like a perfect corporate moment, the picture of success she'd orchestrated for months. Marcus raised his glass, camera flashes painting everything gold. From the street below, through tall windows, the scene looked like a snow globe, sealed, flawless, temporary. Then my phone rang. It happened during my Goldman Sachs presentation. David had gathered the investment committee, 5 partners sorting through portfolios and quarterly reports. Someone said, let's hear about this market strategy, a spontaneous deep dive into my analysis. I'd turned off my phone, but David's assistant knocked. Urgent call for Elena Rodriguez. Says it's about Meridian Capital. David frowned, checking his watch. Take it outside if you need to. In the hallway, Marcus's voice was tight. Elena, where are you? We have a situation. I waited. Goldman Sachs called. They're asking specifically for you. Something about a partnership proposal. They want you to lead it. His voice cracked slightly. They said they've been watching your work for months. The silence stretched between us. Inside the conference room, I could see David gesturing to charts, the partners leaning forward with interest. Elena? Marcus pressed. We need to discuss your role here. Maybe we moved too fast with the promotion announcement. I let out a breath I'd been holding for 4 years. I'm in a meeting, Marcus. At Goldman Sachs. The pause was deafening. You're what? I resigned this afternoon. The letter's on Jennifer's desk. I watched through the glass as David pointed to my presentation slide, the partners nodding approval. They offered me Senior Director of Strategic Investments. I start Monday. Elena, wait. We can work something out. Sarah's promotion, it doesn't mean. It means exactly what it always meant, I said quietly. That you never saw what was right in front of you. I ended the call and walked back into the conference room. David smiled. Everything all right? Perfect, I said, and meant it. Back at Meridian, the celebration had gone quiet. Marcus stood by the window, phone in hand, staring at the Goldman Sachs building across the financial district. Sarah appeared beside him, still holding her promotion letter. What's wrong? She asked. Marcus showed her his screen, a Bloomberg article that had just posted. Goldman Sachs poaches rising star Elena Rodriguez for strategic investment role. The photo was from my LinkedIn profile, professional and confident. Sarah's face drained. That's not possible. She's not leadership material. Marcus turned slowly. Apparently, Goldman disagrees. They're calling her a visionary analyst with unparalleled market insight. The room felt suddenly cold. Through the windows, they could see the Goldman building, lit against the evening sky. Somewhere in those offices, I was signing contracts, shaking hands, claiming the future I'd built myself. Sarah sank into the nearest chair. This doesn't make sense. I got the promotion. I won. Marcus loosened his tie. Did you? Because it looks like we just lost our best strategist to our biggest competitor. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The woman they'd deemed not leadership material was about to lead a team of 12 at the most prestigious investment firm in the city. The promotion they'd withheld had become irrelevant. That evening, I stood in my new office 40 floors above Manhattan, city lights stretching to the horizon. The Goldman partners had been gracious, excited even. "We've been trying to recruit talent like you for years," David had said. "Meridian's loss is definitely our gain." My phone buzzed with messages: congratulations from former colleagues, interview requests from industry publications, connection requests from competitors. I ignored most of them. The quiet was worth more than explanations. When I walked to the window, I could see the Meridian building in the distance, just another tower in a sea of ambition. Tomorrow, I'd start building something new. Tonight, I'd rest in the satisfaction of being exactly who I'd always been, just finally in the right place to show it. By morning, the industry blogs were buzzing. Rising star Elena Rodriguez makes power move to Goldman Sachs. My former colleagues forwarded articles with subject lines like, "Congratulations," and "Saw the news." I didn't respond to any of them. Success spoke louder than explanations. At my old company, they said I wasn't leadership material. At my new one, I'm leading the largest strategic investment initiative on the East Coast. Same skills, different recognition. Back then it was dismissal. Now it's respect. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting for a seat at their table. It's building your own table and making them wish they'd saved you a chair. They thought I'd always be grateful for their scraps. But I don't beg for opportunities anymore. I create them. If you've ever been overlooked by people who should have seen your worth, know this: walking away isn't giving up. It's clearing the path to where you belong. Tell me, have you ever had to leave to find your true value?